or Polycom all uppercase on your bridge, it will always throw a major error. To remove that error, what we have to do is create another administrator and delete the Polycom administrator, and that will make it go away. So I'm going to go down here to the frequently used tab, and I'm going to click on users. And you'll notice there's my Polycom user, and he is defined as an administrator, and that's the default. But I'm going to create one of my own, and so I'll click on add, and it's going to build me a box. My username is going to be Gary M, and I'm going to put a password on there. These are not strong passwords on this system, so you can use fairly simple passwords, but be aware security is important. For authorization level, I'm going to use administrator, and I'm going to click OK, and you'll see up here it created it. Now, normally I'd sit there and say, okay, I'm going to go into Polycom and I'm going to delete it. Well, let's see, can I delete the user? It says I'm going to try to delete that user, and in fact it did delete the user, and that's the user I'm signed in under, so be cautious about that. And you notice down here the error message actually went away about the default user. To eliminate this other message, it says failed to read MCU time configuration, file does not exist. The RMX is trying to figure out what time it is. So if I go to setup and RMX time, it's going to open another window, and that window is going to be where we can define the current time. Now, I'm not sure what triggers him to know that it hasn't been set, but something does. I'm just going to get my time from my laptop just by using retrieve client, and I'm going to say OK just to save it. So now I've set my time up, and if you look, that message went away. So I now have a normal state RMX that is ready to provide service for bridging. We could do a video call right now. In fact, I think we will. Okay, I've brought up my M100 application, and you can see it here. So I'm going to call into the bridge. Okay, I'm going to use that control signaling host address that's right here. Okay, and so I'm going to dial 10.233.8.247, and let's see what happens. Okay, there's a call coming up. So he's looking for a conference ID. Well, I happen to know by default there is a 1004. So I'm going to enter using the keypad, okay, 1004. Okay.
Welcome to Unified Conference.
If you notice, the conference 1004 got created. There I am on video. Hello. And I'm going to highlight that conference, and there I am dialing in. Okay. And we can see my video if we want, and that would be coming there. So here we have, in the neighborhood of about 10 minutes, we've configured our RMX. We've given it, we're using the default address on the RMX. I just muted the audio on my side. And we were able to create a conference within about 10 minutes, or maybe even a little less. So I'm going to hang up that call and move this application out of the way. Now you'll notice the call is still there because he thinks somebody else may come in. He'll hold the call there for ballpark of about 10 minutes, and then he'll release the resources. Now at this point, since no one's called in, at the bottom here you can see there are no resources being used. So the bridge is completely open, and we could actually add up to 30 resources worth of video calls right now. Anyway, so we'll move forward and do some other things here. Okay, now that we've done our initial installation of our RMX, let's go through a few of the features and capabilities of the RMX. I'm going to start out by logging us back in using the user ID I just created. Please note that user IDs are case sensitive. Okay, so we'll log back in. It's going to load up the bits and pieces we need. Now here's our RMX layout for the user interface. Pretty easy to get around. I find that this is, for me, easier to get around than the MGC was, but that's me personally. Anyway, so on the left side here I have conferences, as you can see, lists of conferences. If I had any conferences running, if I highlighted a conference, and we will in a little bit, you'd be able to see a participants. Here's my address book. Well, it's a brand new RMX, so guess what? We don't have anybody in the address book, so we'll have to add some here in a few minutes. Down here is really where we do a lot of the work. Here's where we do the frequently used and less frequently used items. Frequently used would be connections, users, signal monitoring, hardware monitor. Let's look at hardware monitor for a minute. We'll click on there, and here in a minute it will come up and it will show us all the different pieces of hardware that happen to be installed in this RMX. And you'll notice that everything's in a normal state, which is a very good thing, meaning everything's working as expected. Here we have meeting rooms. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Here we have reservations. The RMX does have an embedded reservation system if you want to make use of it. It's very basic. It does work. It is reliable. And so you do not have to have an outside reservation system if you do not want one. But the RMX reservation system that's built in only works with that one RMX. It will not work with multiple RMXs. It also will not communicate with other scheduling systems that might be out there. So if you're going to use that scheduling system, use just the RMX scheduling system. Don't combine them. Less used or rarely used. I don't think I put rarely because we use them a fair amount of time. Anyway, less often used. My IVR services. My IVR services are where I actually have my various languages for the introduction messages. When we do a conference, you'll hear an introduction. That introduction is recorded on the RMX, and that recording can be changed and put into other languages or other verbiage if you want. It's very easy to change those recordings. Polycom only provides the English language version on the basic unit itself. If you need other languages, then you'll need to re-record those yourself. IP services, here's where we actually go in and we can look and see all that configuration stuff we did previously on setting up the bridge. Here's all that information we did, okay, and here's where it's stored, okay. So recording links. If I had an RSS 4000, this is where I'd actually connect or link to that RSS 4000, and we'll do that in a few minutes. If I had ISDN capabilities, if I had a PRI in the RMX, this is where I would actually configure that PRI and add that PRI communication service if needed. Conference profiles. Here's where we actually set up the format of the actual meetings themselves. We'll spend a bit of time here in a few minutes. Entry queues. When I dial into the bridge, if I don't know where I'm going, if I just call the bridge, he'll take me to this entry queue and he'll give me the opportunity to key in a different meeting room or a meeting room name or number if I want to be able to get to that meeting room. And we'll talk about meeting rooms quite a bit. They're very important to the RMX. SIP factory, this is where I'd actually configure my SIP server and my pieces necessary to make SIP work correctly on the RMX, and it's fully supported. Gateway properties are used when I need to configure the RMX to run as a gateway. Now, what does a gateway do? Gateway typically transcodes a call from H320 ISDN to 323 IP, or potentially to SIP. It also is used when I need to gateway an audio call, an analog audio call, which also comes in off the PRI, and brings that into either a SIP or a 323 conference. So this is where you actually configure those gateway services. Here in the middle screen, depending on what we're looking at, depending on what we click, as you notice, the middle screen is our information screen. It actually tells us what we're connecting to. Also up here on the upper left-hand side, you will see that we have some menu items. We have the ability to change the look and feel, the layout of the actual web interface here. Rarely do I change this, though as you can see, I can adjust any of these sizes I want just by dragging and dropping, but it is also possible to get it confused, not the system, but get yourself confused as to where everything is. So we very nicely added a little button here called Restore RMX Display Defaults. So if you click on that, it will actually put the RMX display right back to where we started. And I've often done that when I've accidentally clicked on something I didn't mean to click on. In the administration section, I have my tools area, and these tools, based on my administrator rights, allows me to do certain features and certain functionality, software management. I can do backups and restores of the configuration and of the reservations that are held in the RMX. Resource report, it'll bring up an actual report that shows us the utilization of the resources in the RMX, and right now, as you can see, we have no conferences, so all my resources are readily available. I also have CDR information, call detail recorded, call detail record. I also have CDR information where I have my call records. They're a little elaborate to read directly, but they are there if you want to. I can also make notes about the bridge. If you have multiple people managing this bridge, you may want to make notes and have those notes available to the next operator on the next shift. And of course, we have our system information. In there, they'll tell us the number of resources, some of the options that have been enabled, serial number, what kind of hardware might be available in the box itself. I'm going to squeeze it down so it fits in this video window. So you can see I have a 1 megabyte, or 1 gigabyte, excuse me, a 1 gig memory in the controller, and I am using the latest revision, the X cards. Okay, that's about it in the information. In setup, I have a number of other features and available functions. System configuration. This is where I actually change my system flags to do overall bridge changes. It might be a duration of certain features. It might be some naming conventions. It might be numbering conventions. And this is where I actually go in and configure those and set them up. You'll find those documented in the administration guide. Most of them are listed in there. The ones that you would likely use are there. Exchange integration, if I'm using Polycom calendaring option, this is where I would configure that information. We actually already did the RMX time, and that cleared that error message that we had about we didn't know what time it was, and so it set that up. Notification settings, I can click on that, and he'll actually send me information about new meetings and such for the operators to know things are going on. Port gauge, how many ports are being used, what the actual port configurations are, where I can change what resolution comes in at different speeds. Product activation, we didn't go through that, but in a fresh install you will need to do a product activation. You'll need to take the serial number and the license key and go to the Polycom Resource Center and get your activation key and insert your activation key. At that point, it'll be up and running. SNMP traps, where you're actually allowing an outside program like SolarWinds or HP OpenView or